Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. It's the podcast where we have digital discussions, worlds of pop culture, TV, film, social media, everything really depending on the guest. We talk about it all. And my guest, you will recognize my guest from amazing movies from, the action and the horror genre. She has starred in Man on Fire, The Crazies, Phone Booth, Silent Hill, Melinda, and recently you can catch her in Dreamkatcher, with a K, not a C. Radha Mitchell is with us. Radha, welcome to Popternative.
Great to be here. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I mean, for people that have kind of followed you, you've been in a lot of films and you've kind of showed up on our big screens for many, many years. When did you kind of decide that was something you wanted to do? Like, when was storytelling something that you wanted to do?
I mean, I think even from like childhood, when I was a little girl in Australia, I had this sort of fantasy about being a Hollywood actress. But in my vision, of course, she'd be wearing like a feather boa and, like a 1920s kind of movie star. But then sort of when I got more serious about acting, the craft of acting, I finished high school, went to Bali and read Stanislavski's An Actor Prepares. Mm-hmm. And I got this kind of very serious concept of what an actress might be. So, it's been an evolving adventure ever since I was 4 years old.
You mentioned an adventure. What were some projects that you kind of worked on early on in your career or in the last 5 or 6 years that were like, because you're always going to have learning experience no matter what projects you've done. I'm sure there's learning experiences and you learn and you meet cool people and everything. Talk about some notable kind of learning experiences on this adventure you're talking about.
Well, I mean, the adventure started probably in a student short film in Melbourne. And I played this little girl who got stuck in a house with this little boy because their mum had died. And she died because she threw a rock through the bathroom window and accidentally killed the mom. So there's always been this kind of a dark edge to things.
Yeah, so it started, I know, I was about to say, we started the preamble, horror, like you just seem to be doing horror films.
I've never even sort of put that together until just then. Yeah, there's always been a sort of a dark edge to things. But even then, as a little kid, I was like, wow, this is fun. Like, I'm playing with all the adults, we're telling stories. I get to kind of experiment with my abilities as an actress, so that was sort of the beginning. The very beginning was my mom was a model in Australia.
Oh wow.
And she ended up in this cult film called Pure, I don't know what you can say on your podcast, SHIT, Pure Shit. So that was the name of the film, and it was kind of like one of those sort of early drug movies, and and like the kind of share house culture. And then it's kind of like a little cult film. But I haven't seen it, but I know that I'm in a scene on a coffee table in a bassinet, and my mom bends over and picks up some white powder and goes, this is really good.
Oh, no.
And that's like cameo. So that, and then, so she was sort of involved, I guess, in the arts community and, this idea of, people that are creating content like that. So I sort of slipped in and out of things. But when I actually began I did a little TV series in Australia, where I played like in a 1920s show, and it was a bunch of little girls staying with the grandmother in a small country town having these kind of adventures in their boarding school situation. So then I finished school, got the agent, and ended up making a movie with some friends at Melbourne University that ended up getting sold to Fox Searchlight for $1 million. And it was like a $40,000 movie, like super budget, directed by, this young woman who was like 21 or 22, and all the cast was young. So it had this kind of vibrant energy. And then from that, I got an agent and a manager in the US.
Okay.
But obviously there's no strategy to this. It's just sort of like this amazing series of luckful encounters, and next thing you know,
No,
you're in the middle of it.
no, for sure. I have a cool segment I kind of want to do with you, that has to do with a lot of the amazing films that you've done. But before that, let's talk a little bit about Dreamkatcher.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm sort of super excited that we're going to be streaming this movie in the middle of our lockdown. So there'll be something new to watch for all those people like stuck in the house. And it's a cool little, horror thriller that has all that kind of energy of an indie film, which I guess referring back to sort of the beginning of why I got into acting was to kind of engage with that creative spirit. So, I play in this story a shrink who is trying to kind of save her boyfriend's son, who's recently bereaved because his mother died, from these, horrible nightmares that he's having. And she's sort of trying to teach him to control his state of mind. And unbeknownst to her, there is like an evil spirit that's hijacking his dreams, that's going to hijack her mind later. So you get to go on this kind of, it feels like a family drama, and then there's this kind of really crazy crescendo towards the end that takes you to a different place. So
Well, I saw the trailer, and the trailer like there's a jump scare in the trailer that scares the hell out of me.
Oh, good.
So
I mean, we're lucky to have a great cast. The kid, Finlay, and I can't figure out how to say his last name right now, because it's a complex last name. He was really, we lucked out with him. He was a really talented kid, and he had that real kind of vulnerability, and yet this very self-possessed kind of detached kind of attitude at times. So he's sort of got this interesting character that, harbors the evil. So he's part sweet little boy, part like evil incarnate. And then Lin Shaye, who you've probably seen in a number of horror films. She's a real scream queen at this point, but she's a really talented actress.
It's funny, I don't really associate her though with Insidious. I associate her with one of my favorite movies, Detroit Rock City. I don't know if you ever see that movie.
Right. No, I haven't seen
but
that.
she was one of the mothers of one of the guys in that. So
well, she's great because she can be really hilariously funny and this super like intense kind of dramatic actress. And so having this kind of triangle between the three of us was really was really cool. The movie was shot quickly, so it has that kind of energy, a bit spontaneous, a lot of the way the story was put together, which has that kind of fresh kind of edginess to it.
Absolutely.
So that's the vibe.
No, that is awesome. I want to do a little bit of like a speed round right now, a little bit. I mean, you can go into detail, but I'm just gonna kind of like drop some names of some films that you've done, and on top of your head, first thing that comes to your mind, like something like, that took a long time to film, or it was so cold when we filmed that, or it was the first time I worked with this. So it's just a quick speed round. You know what I mean? So we'll get into it. So are you ready?
Sure.
All right. Yeah, I am. Yeah. Silent Hill.
Amazing creatures. Like phenomenal kind of art space to be in.
Phone booth.
14-day shoot.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's not like common.
No, and before anybody knew who he was kind of an unknown commodity. So they withheld the release of the film till he kind of got more traction with, I think, a movie called Tigerland, and suddenly he was going to become the movie star. Then they released the film.
Wow. The Crazies.
Yeah. We're living it. It feels like a great rehearsal for the past couple of weeks.
True. Henry Poole is here.
Super sweet. People always come up to me and say that movie like really helped them, or meant something to them on a really deeply personal level.
And of course, Melinda.
Oh God, amazing opportunity. I was like freaking out every day. I was like waiting to get fired. Because you never know. You always hear these stories that the lead actor gets fired, and there's not a lot of communication. No, more to the point that there wasn't a lot of dialogue between me and Woody Allen, so I felt like I was sort of in my own bubble shooting that movie, which was good. And a lot of the other actors, actually, none of the other actors had even read the script. So nobody knew what was going on, really, except me. I did have the script.
And finally, Man on Fire.
I think that was my favorite project.
Really?
Amazing location, amazing city, wild actors, and just this really inspired, fun, courageous director.
Now you look at, I just named a bunch of films that you've done, and most of those films, Radha, you were the lead in a lot of the female lead in most of those films. That's pretty awesome. Like I just named like 6 or 7 films. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, what's cool about it is someone asked me my favorite films the other day, and I know this sounds a little strange, but one of them is Man on Fire. Like, I think it's a really good film, whether I'm in it or not. So to have been able to, work on things that I really kind of not only enjoyed making the film, but see the kind of relevance over time of the projects is a pretty special thing.
Did you kind of know that there was something special with Dakota Fanning when you were making that movie?
Yeah. I mean, she was like, I think, 9 years old.
Yeah.
And she came to set with script notes, wearing sunglasses.
That's awesome.
I was just waiting for her to run for president, in a few years' time. What a talent. Amazing. It was just like really uncanny.
You mentioned it. I mean, it's relevant right now, the crazies. But what do you think is making, well, like even before all this? Because a lot of people are watching horror movies right now. One, because it goes with kind of the mood of everything right now. But a lot of people have a lot of time. But I've seen like a boom in the last 3-4 years of horror films. Like the quality that's being made right now is insane.
Yeah. What is the obsession? I mean, I just think fear, obviously, it gives you this real access to this sense of being alive, right? Just to be when your adrenaline is pumping. So people, I guess, are kind of looking for an exciting experience, in the cinema. How long the trend of the thriller horror will dominate, I don't know. It seems to be, like you say, a kind of more recent phenomenon. And you'd imagine people, I mean, for me, I'm just watching comedy, to be honest.
I'm not watching as much horror right now, to be honest with you.
Right now, but there's other people that are. Like my friend, he's like, I just watched a double feature of blah and blah, and it was amazing. And I'm like, oh my God, those movies would just blow my nervous system right now. But, a good movie is a good movie. And the genre often creates a space for innovation and creativity that you don't see in like a drama or a comedy, because there's a surreal quality. Anything can happen, and anything can happen. So everybody's at the edge of what their creative ideas could be.
But what I think is pretty cool is, I mean, you've done, like original films, you've done adapted, like films that were adapted to a screenplay. But I mean, like Silent Hill, what I think is really cool about that one is, I mean, that's like that was a video game. Like that was a movie based on a video game. That's something pretty cool that you get to say too, that you started a film that was based on a video game. Because there was so much hype around that movie when it came out.
Well, I mean, there is a real devoted following to the game. And Christophe Gans, who was a French director and also a film buff, before becoming a director, his kind of main occupation was a film critic. Yeah. So he had this incredible kind of catalog in his mind of film history, and his references, despite the fact that we're making video game kind of remake or whatever, were classical. Like we first did this meeting, he's like, this movie Orpheus? I'm like, no, I don't. I'll watch it. So it was sort of highbrow. But at the same time, he had a real commitment to not disappointing the fans, and really wanted to, activate the movie to create not only the mood of the game, but to engage with the characters. And he also was doing something which, it's funny because you're in the middle of things, you don't even see their cultural significance. Like the first movie I made was high art. The whole crew was female. And as was my second movie, I didn't really consider that in a cultural context. But in this case, he had all of the characters were women in Silent Hill. And then I think at a certain point, one of the studios was you have to, invite some men to the project. So he hired the husband character and the other cop, which, they were great characters. But his initial intention was to have this kind of female horror story, which was pretty progressive even at that time.
No, for sure. Well, there was a lot of hype. I mean, everyone around, like, when I was younger was talking about that movie like crazy. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. I mean, video games is life, when you're a young kid.
Yeah, because all the critics at the time were like, what's the plot? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but you know what? It's funny you mentioned that right now.
Nightmares don't make sense. If you have a nightmare.
The critic thing, yeah. Oh. Did we lose you for a second? Hold on. Oh, did we?
Hi, got you back.
Yeah, we got you back.
Did I leave or did you leave? Something happened.
I don't know. It just refreshed. Anyway, we'll go back. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
But the thing about the critics I find though is it's like, I don't know. That's why I liked what Rotten Tomatoes kind of added, the critics' choice and the audience choice.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? You never, like, I've seen some movies that critics have, like, did not like at all and I loved, and vice versa.
And
so
often, like, actually, 10 years later, people get it. They might not get it at that moment, but something like Silent Hill, it's a nightmare, and nightmares don't make sense. There's a certain kind of instinctual logic to them, but if you're in a nightmare, it doesn't really have a literal kind of logic.
No, it doesn't at all. Radha, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, to come on the show and to talk about your career at Dreamkatcher. This is awesome of you to do this, so I really appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure. Yeah.
Where could people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything you're doing?
I'm a little slack on social media, but I do have a Twitter page, which I think is Radha_Mitchell. Mm-hmm. And then there's Instagram, Radha Mitchell.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And people could hopefully watch Dreamkatcher soon.
Oh, yeah. Well, Dreamkatcher is going to be streaming on the 28th of this month. So if you find yourself, what is the word? Kidnapped and stuck in your home, as we all are.
Do you know if it's going to be on a streaming service, or is it going to be like on video?
All the streaming platforms. So you can get on Apple, you can get on Amazon. As far as I'm informed, on all the platforms. Okay. And it's a Lionsgate. Lionsgate are distributing it, so it should be fairly general, starting on that day.
Perfect. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this, and all the best with the film, and all the best to your family during this this tough time.
And you.
Absolutely.
All right. Where are you, by the way?
I'm in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, you're in Canada. How is it up there?
It's going well. It's going well. My dad's been pretty busy with this because he's the chief medical officer of health for all of Eastern Ontario.
No way.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So is he just 24 hours a day on the phone? Or
pretty much.
Wow.
And doing a lot of like media hits and everything, but no, he's one of the true heroes right now. Like, I'm so proud of my dad. Like, he is like working nonstop on this stuff, and he's saving lives. But like, these public health and people are saving lives right now.
Heroes.
Yeah, absolutely. But thank you so much for doing this. And absolutely. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Be sure to check out Dreamkatcher. It will be available for streaming. It stars Radha Mitchell, and she's awesome, so you should watch it. And until next time, this is Radha Mitchell and PD Beats signing off.
See you later.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.